I will talk a bit about theosophy and a bit about spiritism and spiritualism. And theosophy, it is a movement that was born through Madame Blavatsky and then Annie Besant and onward. And then I will go through a little bit about some other books and so on that I think should be read after each other. So, Theosophy, History of a Pseudo-Religion by René Guénon. And this kind of books is important because you learn to know what modern spirituality consists of, or so-called pseudo-spirituality. So, a Theosophy, History of a Pseudo-Religion by René Guénon. And then we have the Spiritist Fallacy, which is about the Spiritist movement, the ones that held the seances and so on. And this kind of movement was overlapped by Theosophy as well. It was started in the 1800s and went on. Through these days, it has set the groundwork for what we today call New Age. And further reading on this subject, which is like a more broader book, is The Fall of Spirituality by Julius Vola. The undertitle is The Corruption of Tradition in the Modern World. And this one goes through chapters like... and that talks about, the first chapter is named The Supernatural in the World. And the second chapter is named Spiritualism and Psychic Research. And then the third chapter is Critique of Psychoanalysis. And as you hear, he will also critique Carl Jung in this chapter. And then he goes on to the fourth chapter, which is Critique of Theosophy. And then the fifth chapter, which is Critique of Anthroposophy. And that is the movement that was sprung out of Theosophy, but took a bit of an other approach with Rudolf Steiner as its front man, so to speak. And then they go through neo-mysticism and Krishnamurti and so on. And Krishnamurti seems to have been groomed to where he's at, so to speak. Because he was also somebody that they within the Theosophical Society saw as some kind of messiah figure that they could put forth, so to speak. And while Leadbeater had accusations against him for, the kiddie fiddler stuff, so to speak. Then there's the seventh. Where am I at this moment? Yeah, there's the seventh chapter, an excursus on esoteric Catholicism and integral tradition, integral traditionalism. And I will read this book again probably this year to anything you forget, you can get back to it. And it's always good to do that with books, I think. Then the eighth chapter is Primitivism, the Possessed, the Superman. So of course he's criticizing Friedrich Nietzsche in that one. As much as I like Friedrich Nietzsche, there's always also things to be criticized about every philosopher and so on and so forth. And philosophers are system builders. So that's it. And then the 9th chapter is Satanism. And in that chapter they go through Anton LaVey, Aleister Crowley, and so on. And then we have the 10th chapter, which is initiatic currents and high magic, and so on. And then comes the conclusion. There's another book that I haven't read in its entirety yet, but that's Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future by Father Seraphim Rose. And it goes into much about the UFO stuff and also similar stuff that they go into in these books here, you know. So the UFO stuff is like they spreading this psyop thing where they want us to believe that there are a bunch of UFOs with aliens that are flying around in the sky, and that those aliens are like human beings in the future, and so on. And that's really more like a way to sell in a demonic entity or the demons, as it's probably more likely to be than some extraterrestrials, so to speak. And they try to sell you this thing that they would be benevolent entities while they really are corrupted and evil, because the first grace that ever was seen was while Aleister Crowley was channeling a grey through his so-called magic and so on, and that was through at the same time when the Book of Enoch became prevalent, and so on. So while I haven't read this book in its entirety yet, I'm pretty far back in the book, only on the 2nd chapter, so I can't say much about it, but I think it would be good to read them in a way that I will read the books next time. So the last one is then Occult Feminism, The Secret History of Women's Liberation by Rachel Wilson. So here she talks about the occult roots of feminism, and she also mentioned Madame Blavatsky and theosophy and spiritualism and this kind of movements within this book, and how this connection is seen within feminism as well, so to speak. So I am reading this book. I have read this book a second time, and I'm at the moment reading The Spiritist Fallacy a second time. So I will read this book a second time then later on. And I have already read this book, and I will read it a second time. But this book I haven't read, so while I'm reading this time around, I will read it like this. First, Theosophy, a history of a pseudo-religion. Then, The Spiritist Fallacy. Both these books are by René Guénon. And then The Fall of Spirituality by Julius Evola. And then Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future by Father Seraphim Rose. And then Occult Feminism, The Secret History of Women's Liberation. So that's how I would go about it. and so on for a second wave around, so to speak. I guess that's about it.